All right. Hello, guys. Hi, I'm Manikandan Ganesh, and I am planning to make YouTube videos on my learning towards different technologies. So, to begin with, today I am going to start learning Apache Airflow, which is a data orchestration tool that will be used by many data engineers and that are used by data engineers and currently in the market is pretty popular. So I would like to learn about it and I would like to share my experience with people on how I learn from scratch because currently I don't have any knowledge about the tool and I would like to learn about it. So let me uh, first guide you through list of steps I'm taking, and then I'll walk you through the pathway that I'm taking to learn it step by step. Let's get started. So first, let us search for Apache Airflow. So yeah, so here is the website for Apache Airflow, uh, which is used for to author, schedule, and monitor workflows. So let's see how to install it. So it says that the quick start guide will help you bootstrap an Airflow standalone instance on your local machine. So successful installation requires a Python 3 environment. Okay. Starting with Airflow 2.3.0, Airflow is tested with Python 3.8, 3.9, and 3.10. Note that the Python 3.11 is not yet supported. Okay. Let's see what version of Python do I have on my local machine. So here, if you type which Python, says use a local bin Python. So let me type Python version. So it says 3.1.0. Okay, so let's try to install Python 3.10. So to do that, let us first check how to install Python 3.10. Install Python 3.10 on Mac. And it says a few steps, but there is something called Homebrew, which I usually use to install Python on my Mac machine. So Python on 3.10. So what is the command? So brew install Python 3.10. Let us copy this command and let us go to the terminal. I'm using item to use my terminal. So let me install it. Okay, I think it's installing. It's updating Homebrew. Okay, it's taking some time. Okay. Meanwhile, when it installs, I also wanted to show you guys how to create a virtual environment in Python. 3.1.0. So creation of virtual environments. Okay. So virtual environment is useful if you wanted to install packages on Python with for specific versions. So here we are installing Python 3.10. So if you wanted to install Airflow on Python 3.10, you can do it on a virtual machine rather than on a local machine so that you have the freedom to play around for different packages specific to Python versions. So I'll be creating a virtual environment after installing Python 3.10. So it's still updating Homebrew. I don't know the issue with Homebrew, but let it take some time so that it gets installed. All right, guys. So the Python 3.10 has been installed. It took some time for Homebrew to initialize, update, and get it installed on my machine. So see, if you see here, it says Python 3.0 is installed. You can install Python packages with the 3.0 install. And brew install Python TK inter is no longer supported. Okay, so let's see which Python I'm using. So which Python is the path of Python, and Python version is the version of Python. So if I wanted to include Python 3.10, how to set up it, how to include my Python 3.10 as a default Python version. To do that, I have to change my Python version on my path. So let's see how to do it. So set Python 3.10 as default on Mac. It has a Stack Overflow uh, path. So Stack Overflow says changing the default perceivable version of system is based on application depending upon the over your alias commands and motions since the default versions in macros alias for Python 3 and it should be done in profile bash profile or GSH profile. So let's say okay. Um, okay, you can solve it by symbolic link. Okay, let me try this one. So let me I think you need a sudo for this. So let me add sudo 3.10 to user local bin hyphen. Let me do that. It's asking for my password and file exists. Okay, Python version. Hmm. I did not succeed in doing this. Okay, let me go for bash profile. So it's in my Mac machine, it's a Z profile. So it's in my home directory. Let me do that. So it says Python 3.0. So let me see whether I can copy this and paste it here and name the version as Python 3.10. Okay, I'm just gonna uh, save this file. WQ exclamation is saved. So let me save it. Echo dollar. So it says Python 3.0. Okay, so is it changed? That's still didn't change. Okay, we try a different way. So it says nano CHRC. CHRC. Have to add it here. Save it. Exit this. Control O. Control A. Control X. Control X to save and exit. Command X. Command X. Control X. It's now exiting. Exit out of Nano. Okay. I exited. So let me see Python version now. Still 3.70. Okay, let me go to, it says alias Python is user local bin Python 3.10 is what I have. Okay, let me do a control plus X. Python version. No, it's not. So, okay, so it says that it's only alias if it continue to have the original Python 2.60 installed on Mac, it remains accessible and usable by specifying the path like so. What happened to my Python Mac? Okay, so this is not useful. Mm, So let me see here. So it says install from brew install Python, then Python. Okay, let me do this one. Python 3.102 enter local, then Python. Permission denied. So let me add a sudo to this. Enter password. With the password. Okay, done. So let me see what is the Python version currently. Uh, okay, perfect. Finally. Okay, so it's a 3.10 version. All right. So let me. Okay, so let me close all this and let me go to virtual environment creation. So let me do a new virtual environment here, Python -m. So let me say Python 3.10 -m virtual environment. Then users. Okay, let me get the home user first. What is the home directory? Users Manikandan. So let me do this part as users Manikandan B ENP, or maybe virtual 5310 310. So I'm creating a virtual environment for my Python in this folder. I've created it. So let me source 310, then activate. Let me activate it. Yeah, so it says the 5310 is activated. So let me see the Python version in my virtual environment. Okay, perfect. So we have Python 3.0. All right. So we have Python 3.10 installed on my local machine. So I have a virtual environment set up for Python 3.10. So let's get it installed. Let's get the Airflow installed. So successful installation of Python 3.3. Okay, all these things are okay. Installation of Airflow is straightforward. So if you follow the instructions below, Airflow uses constraint files to enable reproducible installation. So using pip and constraint files is recommended. So first step, what they're doing is set Airflow home. This is optional. Airflow requires home directory and uses home/Airflow by default, but you can set a different location if you prefer. The Airflow home environment variable is used to inform Airflow of the desired location. This step of setting the environment should be done before installing the Airflow so that the installation process knows where to store the necessary files. Okay. So export Airflow home. Let me do it in my Z profile. and by one variable. Then install that for using the constraints file, which is determined based on the URL we pass. So, okay. It says that there's a constraint file, but it's not clear where should we include these in our. Let me do it in my. File. Okay. The installation of Airflow is straightforward if you follow the instructions below. Airflow uses a files, just constraint files to enable reproducible installation. So using pip and constraint files is recommended. Okay, so let us search use constraint file Airflow. Okay, say Airflow installation might be sometimes tricky because Airflow is a bit of both a library and application. Libraries usually keep their dependencies open and applications usually depend them, but we should do neither and both at the same time. So we decided to keep our dependencies as open as possible in setup.cfg and setup.py, so users can install different version of libraries if needed. This means that from time to plain pip installer Apache Airflow will not work or will produce unusable Airflow installation. In order to have repeatable installation starting from Airflow 1.10.10 and updated Airflow, you keep a set of not set of known to be working constraint files in the constraints main constraint to zero orphan branches and then create tag for each release version to input constraints to point 1.0. This way we keep a tested and working set of dependencies. Those known to be working constraints are per major or minor Python version. You can use them as constraint files when installing up Airflow from IPy. Know that you have to specify correct Airflow version, Python version in the URL. You can create the URL to the file substituting the variables in the template below. Okay. Installation script. In order to simplify the installation, we have prepared examples that will select the constraints file. What is a constraints file? Compatible with your Python version. I think we need to put these piece of code and a piece of instructions in constraints file. So constraints file is not sure what a constraints file is. Oh my God, this is confusing. Really confusing. So constraints. Let me open ChatGPT for this to see what ChatGPT answers my question. I want to install Apache Airflow. How what is the constraints file in Apache Airflow? Okay, it's a text file. Uses receive the version constraints of the Python file and becomes a specific Apache. Install upgrade Apache Airflow, get compatible versions of the required packages, reducing the rest of it, defining dependencies, constraint, plain text. To run a constraint file. So, let me get the next one. Okay, so it says that need to create a constraints file here and then do an installation. Okay, perfect. So my bad. So I think uh, we have to remove this. So we don't want to include all these in our Z profile. I thought we have to include them home in our bash profile or Z profile in our machine to install Apache Airflow, but I think it's the other way around. We have to install it on our virtual environment and we have to use a constraints file to install in the virtual environment. So let me do that. Let me delete all this. Let me remove all this from my path. So let me create a constraints file in my. I'm gonna follow the instruction from ChatGPT. It's pretty awesome. So this setup of setting the environment variable should be done showing episode of insertion process knows where to store the necessary file. Let me get that also. Let me first create a constraints file. Constraints dot txt. Let me copy this, paste it here. Where to specify airflow home. Cool. Where to specify airflow home environment variable to set the path, target path for airflow installation. Do that in thing. I have to with the books. Actually just on the profile. How to use air, how to record airflow home. Did not let me do that. I included airflow home in my Z profile on my Mac machine, but airflow home returns empty. Do I view it? Source Z profile. Okay, source Z profile. Oh, airflow. Oh, perfect. $4. Sure. All right. So I have created a constraints file. I have set up the environment variable to install Airflow on a specific directory. Now I'm gonna install Airflow. So let me copy this code. Maybe we'll install Apache Airflow. This and then instance.txt. Get us upgraded. Now let me when did I create my constraints file? Okay, it's not dot constraints, it's constraints. No, txt. Let me put that here. Change it to version 0.0. ChatGPT says it's very tough to install these kinds of softwares to in my local machine. Changing equals to double equals. Mhm. Let me get my helper here. I am included the following script in my constraints.txt file. It is should be to the left. It's throwing an error says how to get out of this. You're encountering is because the concern of switch and then we package consume non-arbitrary for the variable assignments. Therefore, option is equal to is not a valid package constraint, and that's why you're saying that to resolve this issue, you should remove the lines related to the variable assignments containing a constraint states required and keep it focused on specifying the packaging constraints. Here's how you can modify the constraints.txt file. This modified constraint we have removed the variable assignments and specifying the constraint URL for Apache Airflow 2.7.0 to 3.8. When you run the construct command, okay. Let me do this. My constraints.txt. Shortcut. Remove the constraints file. Remove the dot constraints file. It contains then constraints.txt, and let me copy this code and paste this code here. Let me install Apache Airflow. You see what is that in the constraints file here? may not put these piece of code anywhere. Let me do like this. The version is equal to Python version equals constraint URL equals bingo. Okay. All right. So I think we should not include them in any of the files to more execute a file. Instead, we should just uh, do line by line, like first copy this line, paste this line, copy this line, paste this line, copy, and just do it all at a stretch in the terminal. That will install. Oh my god, it's not clear. I mean, I thought like I have to put it in a separate file and then install it like in a constraints file because it always says that using constraints. So you install that using the constraints file, which is determined based on the URL we pass. So it's pretty not clear for me, but I got confused. So these are some of the hurdles that I face while installing something or when I'm learning something new. So I undergo all this pain to do that. So it's installing now. So yeah, I mean, it's good to find solution to all this. Let me wait for some more time. ChatGPT did not prove to be useful. Uh, it's always good to learn from directly from official documentation sometimes. It's more accurate and gives us less bugs and it gives us less hurdles to do that. Although we have to carefully read what they say. It's not like we can do it like very easily. We have to carefully read, understand, and then do it, which I didn't do right now while installing Airflow from scratch. So, small tip from me. All right, guys. So I think Airflow is installed. One tip that I would also tell you guys to install, like what I did wrong and what can be corrected, is let me show you. So all these commands that Airflow official documentation has is to install Airflow. I was searching for creating a constraint file, putting all this together in a constraints.txt file, and then having different kinds of errors while running that constraints.txt file, then going to chat GPT and then trying out different options. All those things did not work. What will work is we have to include these commands in our Z profile and then source that Z profile so that when you're doing a pip install using these commands, it will be able to refer, it will be able to fetch the variables that is Airflow version, Python constraint URL, and Python version, which is being used here. All those things will be fetched from Z profile. So I'm assuming that is how it works. So let us see how these things work, and let us see whether will it really work or not. So what I'm going to do here is Airflow is installed. So let's first check whether it's installed in home/Airflow. So let me see. No, it's not there. Okay. Or let's do one thing. Let's first. Okay, we have Airflow home here. on, let's include Airflow version. Let's include Python version. Include constraints URL. Okay. Let's do an export of everything. I'm going to save this file. Then I'm going to do source zip file. Okay. So first, let's do an echo dollar airflow home. Let's say it's airflow here. Let's say echo dollar echo version. Let's say echo version is here. Let's say echo dollar Python version. Python version is here. Say echo dollar some URL. It's here. Okay. Now let's do a pip install. Let's execute this command. I'm gonna let it save first. Requirement already satisfied. Library payment inside packages. Okay, it's installed inside packages. Okay, Airflow is installed. So let's this also works, and let's do Airflow standalone. Okay, starting standalone. It says visit a local host 8080. Log in with admin account. Enable log in with admin account to details shown in the terminal. Enable the example bash operator DAG in the home page. Let us first visit this localhost 88. Okay, perfect. So it's installed. Log in with admin user ID and password. Username. This is my username. Admin username man. System preferences. System preferences window. Click on the users groups icon. Manikandan Ganesh. So this is my admin username and password. Okay, let me see. I couldn't get it. I don't have username and password. Let me see there after locking my Mac. The username. It's Manikandan Ganesh. That's my admin username password. Okay. I think username is Manikandan Ganesh. Okay. The network details shown in the terminal. Admin account details is shown in the terminal. I don't have any network details. Okay. Username is admin. Okay, here you can see here. So it's in the terminal. So username is admin and password is this one. So let me do that here. Username is admin and password is this one. Sign in. Okay, bingo. We have it here. So let me save it for now. And okay, so dataset consumes one, dataset consumes two. It has a lot of DAGs. Oh my God. Okay. Don't use SQLite as metadata DB introduction. It should only be used as depth testing. We recommend using Postgres or MySQL. Click here for more information. Do not use a sequential executor in production. Click here for more information. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have that username and password. Enable the example bash operator DAG in the home page. Okay, so we have to enable example bash operator DAG though. So I have enabled it. Okay, so upon running these commands, Airflow will create Airflow home folder and create the Airflow.cfg. Let me check in my terminal. I see Airflow home is created. Yeah, perfect. So Airflow home is created and Airflow created Airflow.chg file with defaults that will get you going fast. Override the defaults environment variables using configuration reference. You can inspect the file either in the Airflow or Airflow Homes, Airflow CFG, or through the UI in the admin configuration menu. The PID file for the web server will be stored. Okay, let's see what is there in the Airflow CFG file. Admin configuration menu. Okay. You can inspect the file either in Airflow Home or through UI in the admin configuration file, admin configuration. Configurations. Okay. Airflow administrator choose not to expose the configuration notes, likely for security reasons. So I'm not able to view it. Configuration file. The PID for the server will be stored in server system. Okay. See the status of the job chain in example bash operator. Okay. So and then some status of the success queued success. Okay, you have success. So you can see there are a few commands that will trigger a few instances. I should be able to see the status of the option that I will remember commands below. Okay, let's first run these things. So source activate 5310. Is my Python installed? Python installed. So let's see. I'm not able to run this. It says some error. Foreign key associated with diagram user ID could not find the DAB user which to integrate a foreign key to column ID. Some issue I'm having while trying to run this. So God, I don't know what I'm seeing. Lots of things. Lots of things like grid, graph, calendar, task duration, task size, landing times, gun details, code. Oh my God, lot of things. I mean, very difficult to understand what these are unless I know what the tool is. So I'm not able to run this also. Run your first task instance. Let me copy it and run it here. Let me see whether I can run it or not. Should I run it here directly? Yes, currently running. Okay, let me at least try to run this. Let me migrate. Install Kubernetes also saying that we have to install some Kubernetes. Able to start. Okay. Migration will happen. Let me create users first. Create users. Username is admin. First name is, let me put my name. Manikandan. Let me put my last name. Ganesh. We put the role as admin. I put my email ID. My email ID. Okay, we have to get this monetized. Okay, let me put a different username. New user, all money. Yes. Okay. Yes. So 193. 193. Are able to run this also. Okay, that's it for today. So we have installed successfully after we are able to see different things on Airflow. So I think in our next video we'll be diving deeper. We can head to the tutorial section for further examples, and we'll do that in the next video. All right, guys. Cheers. Bye.